Baba, right there. It's a heavy. But when Mr. Taiwo look come back. Let's go back. Are we good?
Yeah.
We're good. And welcome back, program. If you're just tuning in this morning, this is Royal FM 95.1. As always, the broadcast of live to you from the beautiful city of Illinois, Forest State, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us. This is the News Rendezvous. My name is Papa Okunlola. Let's go to the FPL, the Journalist Roundtable. That's what it is on Fridays, and I have in the studio Mr. Yolola. Where you are, it's good to have you join me again.
It's good to me. Yeah.
Let's start off with the Petroleum Industry Act. After several years of intrigues, legislative somersaults, restarts, President Muhammadu Buhari finally signed the Petroleum Industry Bill into the Petroleum Industry Act on the 16th of August 2021. So, in summary, we now have an act providing for legal, governance, regulatory, and fiscal framework for the Nigerian petroleum industry, the host communities, and for related matters. And so to state that this important act has been long in coming, this to oversimplify the obvious. Let's discuss this. Of course, it's come. Some people have applauded this particular move, others have criticized the move. We take a look at who is saying what, but let's shed light on this. So for the man out there who might not really understand any of it.
Right. Please, before we go to issue of petroleum industry good governance, it permits me to kind of pay tribute to one of the friend and lecturer that passed on last week, Dr. Tunde. He's also a recording journalist, a lecturer at the Forest State University. We actually been together for close for 5 6 years right now. Doing this together. It was shocking experience for me. Issues that we've been having with the management of the petroleum resources in the country. There have been a lot of complaint, controversy about the transparency and accountability in the petroleum industry in Nigeria. The people, and we are not even sure of the exact petroleum that they extract from Nigeria every day. How do the resources? There's still controversy about the 330 million barrel that they make available for local consumption. So, but the critical issues that has actually been making it to the front page of the newspaper is the 30% or no 30% for the host community. The host community being in South South and the oil producing community, they've been saying they want more than 30%. Even at that, let us now look at the people we are talking about right now. The host community are not even talking about how to manage the 30%. Is it the traditional ruler that will just sit down and decide to get this? Is there any agency that they will set up in their community to manage the 30% in order to bring development to that area? 2000 and, yes, 2019, I was in Niger Delta, in Bayelsa in particular. All I saw, even in the state capital, all I saw is I saw the oil producing state. That magnitude, and the state capital is not yet developed to its fullness. It's just a particular area, maybe 10% of the state capital that you can actually call a city. Other areas they are just in hinterland. People are still struggling. You see the land, you see the oil spill everywhere in the Niger Delta. So that's for state capital right now. What if we now go to riverine area? So the 3% they are arguing, they are all saying yes, we want more. How do they intend to manage 3%? And the petroleum governance bill, there's a provision for it that okay, the moment we have this bill to open up the sector, but the federal government, the Minister of State for Petroleum, Timi Priscilla, who happened to be from former governor of Bayelsa State, addressed press conference on Tuesday saying that okay, we are not going to remove subsidy now, and they are planning to commercialize NNPC in the next 6 months. What exactly are they saying? Back and forth. We are not ready. Yes, there is a law in place, but we are not ready to implement it to the fullest. So, how do you want to achieve the lofty idea of the petroleum industry bill if we are not ready to implement to the fullest?
Well, like you said, the 3% seems to have been a cause of controversy. But then again, and let's take a look at some reactions to this particular move by the government. Nate, amongst a couple of other people, have said, well, like OPEC, Secretary General OPEC, Mohammed Sanusi Bakindo, mistakenly congratulated President Buhari, saying it marked a significant milestone for Nigeria Nigeria's oil industry, and an historic achievement for the president. Haiti also had good things to say about this, talking about those who were not so comfortable with this. Uh, some governors, of course, have fixed holes in the Petroleum Industry Act signed by President Muhammadu Buhari. They described the law as a recipe for disaster. The governors identified six unfavorable errors in the letter and they pleaded with him to withhold his assent to enable the National Assembly to take another look at the bill along the lines of their observation. And taking a look at some of the things that they had to say, they spoke about the timing and some other loopholes. So I want to come to you very quickly about this. There's two angles to this. It's been a long time coming since 2008. And, well, what say you?
Well, it has taken about 20 years. It did not just start in 2003. Even in the days of Olusegun Obasanjo, that was in the 20th century, the push had begun, but the political will to make it happen because of a lot of complexities. Then, so it was difficult for the government of Obasanjo, the government of Yar'Adua, and that of Jonathan to implement and get this, signed. But well, this government will take that credit because it has taken the bull by the horn to go all the way. It's been very consensus. If you remember that fight among the
National Assembly
yes,
and
at
the
the
House of
National
Rep.
Assembly, there was a walkout, there was protests, yes. Even among host communities, there were physical fights over this. But at the end of the day, we initially had 5%, going to because that seems to be the most consensus and everything we feel like well, when it was 2.5, what changes did we see? But now we hope to see changes in how we address environmental degradation. I saw part of the new executions, and what is expected is that about 75% of that money should go into infrastructures, capital projects. Yes, 20% should be in roads, and the remaining 5% should be for administrative, purpose. So if you have 75% truly executed and used, for capital projects, then you should expect changes. Yes, there should be, address issues. And when you have issues of, I like that clause, that when you have issues of theft, of vandalism, and all that, it is out of this money that they will have to fix it.
And
So
not the
that
federal
perhaps,
government.
yes, that perhaps the people know that if
To take
you
responsibility.
yeah, you take
It's your
responsibility for
responsibility.
whatever because it is going to be addressed out of what goes to you. So
Well, some of the things
perhaps
the government had to say, part of the letter, which I'm reading in part, we note with great shock and displeasure that the interests of the subnationals were not put into consideration in the bill that was recently passed by both chambers of the National Assembly, and they noted about the percent of following. These are some of the issues that they seem to have raised.
that has always been the good luck Jonah, the sovereign conference that we had. It was one of the most disputed areas too. How do we, share these derivatives? Perhaps
Further,
yes. No, 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 no. I doubt if the NNPC is being empowered. If and that is a big if we
Fully
truly
implemented.
implement it, because it's not going to be commercially driven. It's going commercially oriented and profit driven. So in that case, when you are selling shares, you don't expect me to buy shares in NMPC and I will look at the organization go bankrupt or anything. So there must be address. That means you are bringing in private investors into the NNPC. So you have board, there will be regulatory bodies even within. I expect changes in that regard. So, but are we sincere in our implementation? That is the
big
challenge.
question right
Yes,
there
that is
when
the
it comes to
challenge we always
implementation.
have as a nation, and that has not been implemented anyway. We really do not know how long again that will take. You know,
See, and the issue of sincerity, that's what I want to come back to right now. In 2003, when you will start mounting the issue of the regulation right now, I remember that was the time I traveled to Port Harcourt, and the one day there is this popular NTA program, AMS President. That's the jingle that they run. They have this jingle like 3 4 times during that EMS test, the regulation trying to sensitize people. So we are talking about the regulation from 2003 to now, that's 18 years. And we
and
are just still mounting the regulation. And so if we have this big sign right now, and the Minister of State for Petroleum, who is directly in charge, though the president said he's in charge, but we know that the minister is not managing the ministry, said we are not ready to remove subsidy right now, and they are paying trillions of naira on subsidy annually. They are paying about 200 million naira on subsidy monthly, and they are not sure of the route. There is no roadmap to how we want to stop the subsidy regime. So we are not ready. The paper bill that the OPEC General Secretary happened to be a Nigerian was praising President Muhammadu Buhari, the current administration for. It's just for the international community. We that are in Nigeria, we understand again. We understand that this is a paperwork. We want to see it being implemented. We give them 1 year, we give
Right.
them
See,
2 years, so that we
you
will
see,
see positive
Well,
impact.
gentlemen,
this
we
this
we
this
have
may
to.
be a hard one for them, and in actual fact, implementing the PIB actually calls for total deregulation of that sector. But how do you do that when, considering the situation of the country, considering the value of the naira to the dollar, because it is not
That's a
about
key.
how much we want to sell, it is about how much it is being
So
sold
why do you
at the
sign?
international market,
Why do you sign?
considering the fact that our refineries that should actually bring the prices low are not working, not even in a quarter capacity. So those are the difficulties that are there for government to say
Well,
they want
gentlemen,
to actually implement
well, gentlemen,
the PIB.
it is a 1 hour conversation, and it still wouldn't be enough. And we're bringing it up on a Friday because, of course, it did happen this week. We'd love to have your take. Here's how you can share those thoughts with us. 0903 5595857. Again, that's 0903 5595857. That's the WhatsApp number. Let's move on. We'll be moving on to the security situation. What happened in Plateau amongst numerous other security challenges dealt with this week. We'll be right back. This is the News One Day Group. Let's go videos. Okay, yeah. You know, wanted to discuss it on Wednesday. But that's
Yeah.
Baba Ijeba music video. Yes. They got a passion. With independence. Yeah.
There's this one party recommendation.
No, the constitution is the answer now.
Ìyẹn wà àlàyé yẹn ti fi sí wọn bí èdè
Let's go.
ó lè pa ìwé ìwé ìwádìí
I'll try and send
All right. Going back to
Remember, actually, that is
9:24, 24 minutes. Get best hour 9 o'clock. You tune into Royal FM 95.1 in Lorraine. This is the News One Day. Now, before the break, we discussed the petroleum industry bill. Controversial. You can even tell from the breakdowns in the studio about, how complex it really is. Some issues, some have applauded this move, said it's long overdue. Others have said, well, the timing's right, it's wrong, and, there's certain things you put into consideration before making such a move. We'd love to have your thoughts. 0903 5595857. Moving away from that, let's go to Plateau State. The Plateau State government imposed a curfew on Bassa Jos North and Jos South local government areas following Saturday's attack on commuters in Jos North local government area, where 23 persons were reportedly killed and 23 injured. At least 20 people suspected to have been involved in the attack have so far been arrested. An official said the federal government, the governor, Yaya Bello, also condemned the attack and called for perpetrators to be punished. Gentlemen, let's talk about this situation. What's leaves a sour taste in your mouth?
Yeah, it's actually really starting from the north. But what I would like to caution journalists for is the way we report news.
Okay.
Immediately after the event, the reports coming from the Plateau State is about the attack is targeted on a particular religion. How are you sure that people in bus, commercial bus, are of the same religion?
A commercial bus,
Yes,
keyword, the
yes,
commercial bus.
commercial bus. Having people in the same religion in their commercial bus.
Perhaps some would
So the
argue with
first thing, the
timing.
first thing that you need to do is that even though you are reporting, why don't you give us the analysis of the name of people? Do you have the manifest? That's why the issue of fact checking, sensitive reporting come out right now. Just don't wake up in your corner and say because you're a journalist and there is a crisis, you start reporting. Yes, you can report, but report with fact and fact check before you teach that. Because let's imagine that people are not just conscious, people they start reprisal attack, and at the end of the day, you notice that it's not about a particular religion or a particular tribe. That is not possible. Yeah, I'm even sure now. It's not possible for a particular commercial boss to have a particular ethnic group, religion in a particular commercial bus, two, three buses. It's not
But the
possible.
argument sometimes is that people charter buses and all of that. So
This is
perhaps
not
that was a
actually
targeted
this is not a
situation.
charter
So
bus. I don't believe before I can believe that narrative is when I see the manifest for that to the buses involved and the name of the victim. Yes, by that one is just by the way. But the issue is that the security concern in the country cause for concern. And the way our people, the government, federal government and the state government, they've been trying to shift blame, push shift blame right now. It's not helpful. And you see the media aid to the government, to the president, coming out with figure about 1,000 dying in so within so period. Now it's only 200. Even if it's one, they're not supposed to use it like that. So we need to step. They need to step up their game. The security agency, they need to empower them. And the moment you start justifying the issue of security from the government angle, you see the people in the security forces, they want to relax because they said they feel that the government, they understand the challenges we are facing. So if we are unable to meet up with our expectations, they will always defend us.
but Howard, let's get your thoughts on this. Well, you did make some very, very crucial points right there. But then again, it's not much different because you have this reports evolving out about the ethnic situation. Is that different, totally different from what happened at the end of the day?
Well, the report has been that they were actually like chatted boss. I think they were going for um, a particular event, and it was particularly right because there had been that yes that clash between a particular tribe who are majorly Christians and another who are majorly Muslims, and it happened within that region. And that was why you know people went into confusion and said, "Oh, it happened this way." But I agree with you that reporting conflict issues like this, conflict sensitive issues like this, we need to be careful because it could have escalated into something else with the statements that were being churned out, people who were reacting and all that. Having said that, the bulk of the blame, still goes back to the government. The government that has failed in its responsibility to secure the lives of properties and chiefly the people. How would they take the lives of scores without security, agencies not getting even a glimpse of what was going on at that moment?
And that place is
But
actually a flashpoint.
you know, imagine what is happening, and this thing is a collective, perhaps because it is just getting to them anyway. Perhaps because they are not feeling the heat as much as the common man feels this heat. our country became, the situation got worse when men started building a world of their own. As when power became erratic, some people started buying generators, and so because he could provide light, electricity for himself and his own household, he didn't really care much about. When the water service it started failing, they resorted to borehole, and it trickled down because the common man too now started striving to say, let me also get this and build a world of my own. And today we have several people. We don't even care about
It's not
water
like you've been a
services. We don't
government
care,
for
yes,
yourself.
anymore. So we are creating a world of our own.
Well,
And so
gentlemen,
they have created a world of their own again by hiring security operatives. Even several times, those who should serve all of us are being
Fall
privatized,
to
monopolized by the VIPs. What
well,
are we doing?
gentlemen, tell what are we doing? It's a good way to flow and then go on to the Zamfara, to the abductions, a lot, abductions and abduction that we have had in Zamfara. Where gunmen, essentially killed at least three people, abducted 20 including students and staff from agricultural college.
It's the same thing.
This is
It's the same
becoming
thing. If there had been a son or the daughter of one elder among them, we would have had, because headline would have even read, and the son of the head orders kidnap, kidnap. But there's nothing like
I
that.
even learned that
We
the
don't have such
son of
reports.
the Kaduna State government, the son that the celebrated son that I took to one secondary school, the
The
man
boy has
withdrawn
been
withdrawn
withdrawn
well,
from
that has
since.
the
been a
public
very
school.
long time ago.
It's been
Yes,
That's
he
withdrawn.
not
has withdrawn
new.
the boy
Baba
from the
don't
school.
withdraw the boy from school.
Say you cannot die. The security situation
Do
is
you
we
understand?
cannot
And
protect you.
it was not even announced when they stopped the boy from going to that from
You
attending.
It was
expected
It was
actually
investigated
publicity now.
you
investigative
expected that
journalism.
it would have been
Yes,
announced the
yes,
same
because it
way.
was announced and we celebrated it
On
when
front
he
page
was
of
going to
newspaper.
school. Why don't you do the same
Yes,
This is
celebration
pretty
when he
sad.
was coming back home? That eventually he was forced to respond to it by issuing a statement to say that the life of the boy was under threat, and then it could also affect every other kid and all that. Why can't we do something to protect the life of
Every other kid.
every other
Well,
kid? Because
gentlemen, the
no
same
kid
thing
is more
applies. It's the
important.
same conversation we've had around health. If it's not good enough for the president, if it's not good enough for the governors, why is it good for the average Nigerian? The same thing applies to security situation. And I would ask you about the way out, but then we'll still talk
You
about
agree with
that.
me. You agree with me that this government has failed in that regard. Because if you rode into power with the promise that you were going to build
Fight
the health
corruption.
system, yes, and ensure that we all use that
It was in
particular,
the
and
campaign
we have
too.
not even for the state house clinic, it's
Well,
under
gentlemen,
threat.
you have to agree that we're using these things. Just that how do they say DJ when they water pass that?
Water no pass Gary. Now because they know say water pass Gary the time when they campaign for 2015. But now they can't dey there. They don't dey there
Because
6 years now.
where
Waiting
can you
what has
cause
changed.
the governor of the former governor of Akwa Ibom, Akpabio, built a world class. I so to say I've not been
Do
there,
it.
but it was highly celebrated then. Why can government partner them and build that place? What will cause government to buy in the gadgets that the equipment that the president needs for his treatment down to the
Well,
country?
gentlemen,
No,
You know,
but
it's
no,
these
not
are
no,
even.
no.
these are some
Let
of
us
the
be frank. Let
Let's
us be
not
frank.
deviate.
The atmosphere in London is actually good for presidency.
Gentlemen, let's not deviate. Okay, we're talking security, but then there's a parallel, if you like,
No,
amongst the situations.
is the
Taiwan,
same is the same situation. It's the same
definitely.
situation. It's just like finding an abode, a safe abode for yourself, when the lives of the common man, you know, is in danger.
But Taiwan, they ask you
That
this
is the
question:
simple
What are we supposed to do?
explanation.
What are we supposed to do? Some people say, "Well, if it's don't complain,
If
don't
we
complain
all
to the
full,
king
if
and
we all put
complain about
ourselves in that shoes,
how
what
heavy
did
the
Cuba
crown
do?
is."
Yes, now because you
Fidel Castro, what did he do? He refused to, seek medical attention abroad, and they
Gentlemen,
built their own health
healthcare
system,
system,
and they were
and they
able to do it.
export and
And
make
people
money from
started
that
going there.
route.
Yes, people started
We
going
can
there
actually do
for
it when
medical
we have
Gentlemen,
tourism.
we still have to discuss the Afghanistan situation. We've still got to discuss, repentant Boko Haram members after this break. Let's go pay bills. You can keep the messages coming in if you're listening to us right now. 0903 559 5857. 0903 559 5857. We'll be back.
nǹkan kékeré wàá ti máa gbọ́
No,
àlàyé
there's no
ẹ̀yà
time.
fún wa
Then
There's no
ẹ
time.
fún wa àmọ́ nǹkan tó
okay,
wà
that
bẹ́ẹ̀
Kwara
kí
this
ni
is
yóò
move
kárí
up
àti pé
Kalo
èèyàn mélòó ni
Taliban.
bàbá
What
àlàyé
should
máa
we drop
yanran
the
fún
price
gan-an
for?
kò fẹ́ wá kó
Who
wa
will
lọ wá
do
para ẹ̀
the
ṣùgbọ́n tó
Taliban?
bá
Okay,
wá
that's
ìfà
Uh,
tẹ̀tẹ̀ tó ń yẹ kí
just
wọ́n
the
darapọ̀
Kwara
mọ́
state
yẹ
said
ló
they
àwùjọ giveaway tó lékè ká tó bá jẹ́ oníbàárà MTN àtẹ̀yìnwá wàá máa ṣe
because I
pàlàlà
think we
pẹ̀lú
need time
àfikún
to
lórí
really break
àfikún
this.
ìdá ọgọ́rùn-ún márùn-ún nígbàkúgbà tó o bá ra ìpè ọlọ́gọ́rùn-ún kan tàbí jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ lórí MTN bẹ́tà tọ̀ tó o bá dẹ̀ jẹ́ oníbàárà tó fẹ́ràn ìfà olójoojúmọ́ star 888 ló máa lò láti lè jẹ àǹfààní ìfàlọ́nà mẹ́fà tó o bá ra oníyekíye lórí MTN àwùfọ̀ yìí tó bá dẹ̀ jẹ́ pé oníbàárà tuntun yẹn wàá máa jẹ àfikún ìfà tí ìdálọ́nà ọgọ́rùn-ún méje ní gbogbo ìgbà tó o bá ra ọlọ́gọ́rùn-ún kan àbí jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ lórí MTN yàbùyàbù torí náà má nà gẹ̀rẹ́ darapọ̀ mọ́ ìfà tó ń mórí wú ní gbogbo ibi tó o bá lọ pẹ̀lú MTN.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Muna da kuɗi a ciki da asusu ga wakilin mu ga bukatu na kuma za ku yi da su ga wakilin mu wance kati baya da
You know what I mean? That we quickly charge this.
Look at Full Saga.
It'll come back. I just don't want that. So I did it for my. It's not there. Is it there? Is it? Is that it? Go to the engineering department and just take this. Take this. Go with the charger and ask them that I don't know if that's it or if they have one there. I'm not so sure. So we can play it.
Yanzu za ku iya ɗiban kuɗi daga asusun ku a wajen kowane wakilin momo mafi kusa da shi ko da kuwa ba kwa tare da katu sai ku kira star biyu biyu uku layi wakilin
It's
momo
live
mafi kusa
stream.
da
It's
shi
live. This is
wajen
live.
wakilin momo
That's all now.
ga sauƙi
It's true
ga
now.
sauri
I just
ba
sit down.
hatsari
Just
kuma ba tare da wahala ba.
and welcome back. Time does fly. One moment you're saying hello, the next moment you're saying goodbye. Okay, we do have some time left right now. We've been discussing first topic, the PIB bill. Next, we'll move down to the plateau tragic situations and Farah. And to discuss insecurity, let's talk about the repentant insurgents who have stirred up quite some controversy and affected communities and even amongst Nigerians. But before that, a very quick one. Some quick editorial decisions being made in the studio behind that break, and we will be dropping the power story. Of course, you've heard parts of it discussed on numerous programs during the course of this week, and so that we can give it the attention it does deserve. So perhaps Daya is going to be picking up that one. For now, let's talk about the security situation still. Gentlemen, Afghanistan happened, the return of the Taliban. The first time I saw the story, I saw a Time magazine picture, front page, 20 years ago that said, oh, the death of the Taliban, and then almost right about the same period you have the return.
20 years after.
20 years after you have, and it was really interesting to see the irony of that. President Joe Biden being criticized right now, and he's not having a good time. Means people talking about, well, there never would have been a right time. He did say, well, there never would have been a right time for this. We can't stay here forever. According to my guests, they said, well, America stepped in, was the midwife, birthed the kid, and started acting as the mother. It was not a situation they could have done it forever, but the timing's been discussed right now. What are the implications for the rest of the world? Well, it's what we're discussing right now. And against that backdrop, we had repentant insurgents, of course, bearing in mind that they had a kid after the death of Shekau, and they say they're leaderless. But for other people say, well, could this be a ploy? And what motivation? It's a totally, it's like unpacking
Yeah, I
an
think
onion.
it's a difficult one even for government to manage. Let me start from the round of your thoughts. Because one, you do not know, was it because of the heat they were feeling that made them choose to surrender,
They truly
or are they
repentant.
truly, yes, repentant?
Should we
That
forgive
that
them?
yes, should we forgive them? If you forgive them, and decide to integrate them in the society, will there not be civil protest among people who have lost, you know, a family member, you know, or their means of livelihood? So these are some of the issues. But because the truth is, most of them were not even, or not all of them were living in the outskirts. Not all of them were in the bush. Some were still within, that the people cannot, yes, that the people cannot even look in the face, because you fear that there could be yes, a reprisal or a revenge if you decide to act against them. So these are people that they know. So that fear is still there, and it lies on government table right now to see how they can manage it. Even Governor Sulu uh, admitted that he finds it difficult to say this is how we should resolve this matter. I hope they are able to do what they are being paid for.
Well, residents of Borno, amongst some other Nigerians, have expressed views over the surrender of over 1,000 Boko Haram terrorists to Nigerian troops and the what they call the kid glove treatments they were receiving from the government. That seems to be the pay for a lot of people saying, well, let's welcome
Especially it's annoying to see that they now live a better life, even that the people they subjected, yes, that the people they subjected, to pains and sorrow.
Not like hiding place.
Hmm. Yeah, you understand? So it's quite unfortunate.
So you know
I
the
think
the
these are
experience,
the
this Nigerian situation, it's actually cause for concern, and it's actually painful that when you come on here like this, people have debate, roundtable talk, conferences, they discuss this issue. You have people in IDP, in the internally displaced sent camps,
for no fault of
for
theirs.
no fault of theirs, because of the inability of government to protect them, because of the insurgency situation in their area, and you subject them to all kind of food. They cannot even get a square meal in a day. They are giving them special allowance to take care of their house. Maybe you are allocating like 500, 1,000 for one household per day, household of four, eight, to take care of their basic needs after the providing food for them. And now you have independent insurgents, they are living in a very cozy camp, at least to some extent, comfortable place for them to sleep. You have this nice, reasonable allowance for them for the time period that you are trying to reintegrate them into the society. And let me connect that to the Taliban situation. Yes, Taliban actually fell to Americans 20 years ago, but along the line, the remnants of the Taliban, they started making inroads into the Afghanistan government through the military, through the getting themselves familiar with the government cycle, winning election and all that, just making inroads. So as of today, before their later success story last week, they already have about 60%, 70% back in the army. They're already taking charge, calling it shots in the army of the Afghanistan government, and even in the government circle. The government, American can no longer share intelligence with Afghanistan government. So why do they need to wait in Afghanistan to waste their resources to put the life of their diplomats in danger when you already know that that place has been infiltrated by Taliban? So it is their country. Afghanistan is their country, and that's the way they want to manage it. Let them manage it and let the world see them. And the people that all these things, when they said somebody is coming to intervene, yes, as an international relations expert, as this kind of the study that people say, okay, they say, and we guide against external interference. I look at Nigerian federal government of Nigeria, the moment they shout about it, UK cannot retaliate, UK cannot intervene, European Union cannot intervene. We know of the APC government running to UK embassy, compelling them to issue joint statements in build up to 2015 general elections. Still the same government dey tell me that they don't want external interference. That's all the nation and all the developing nation. That's how they pray about their security. When it's not favorable to them, they talk about international community, they talk them down. But when they need help, they rush to the international community to get grant, to get military support. I remember during the Libya crisis, everybody was the fall of I was there during the I was monitoring the situation on Al Jazeera back then, and then because like that was when I was doing my postgraduate diploma in international relations then, and they now say, okay, the day they decided, the United Nations decided that no fly zone in each country now. In Libya, there is a particular country. That was the day they defeated Gaddafi. But people would shout. There was explain, and the same people in the Middle East were shouting they should declare the same thing in Syria. But no, because of economic interest and all that.
but
The
gentlemen,
international system is
but
a complex
gentlemen,
situation.
the bottom
It's
line,
not a game of
I
interest.
did have this conversation with my guest on parts of it, and time won't allow us because we have to pick up the phone lines, phone calls right now. But at the end of the day, a lot of people brought out some lessons there. So what lessons are there to be learned? And that's it's all man for himself at the end of the day. You don't expect other countries to care more than your country. So don't destroy the home that you have. Talking about, oh, well, we'll get help from the UK. No, they're going to do what's best for them and take a look at their own interest
And
in
they
the
will also
situation,
look at something
which
that
is
will
what
not
we're
put
seeing
them
here. Because now it's
in conflict
happened,
with
there's
other nations.
several defensive statements.
I
Oh, we
think
can't
I
stay
think I
here.
think I think for me, several people would hold the U.S. responsible, as we have always done
Well, how did it start?
several times when they infiltrate the nation and all. But I feel that I would still lay the blame, you know, before the leadership of Afghanistan,
Well, the
because
president did
the president
give
of
a video
Ashraf Ghani,
response from
I
another
should
land.
have, you should have expected that one day that interference, the presence of the US was going to come to an end. And since when the former president of the US, Donald Trump, announced this exit, what have they done? How much has he spent on his own security apparatus as, the president? It's so painful. It was after this incident that I got to know that he actually wrote a book on how to fix a failed state.
That's
Yes,
interesting.
yes, and Ashraf Ghani,
Gentlemen,
yes,
we
being a
have to
professor
open
of
up the phone lines.
anthropology and all, he even gave TED talks on how to, but unfortunately, he
He couldn't
failed.
boil
He
it
failed
out
in
of
that
spoon.
very regard, which brought up another, discourse.
He's an expert in theory.
When you yes, when you are an expert in
Gentlemen,
theory,
that's the problem. There are
can you
people
also be
listening to us
good?
right now. They're saying,
Can
it's
you
easy to
also be
talk about
good
the
in
problem.
implementing
Wait until
some
you're on
of
the
this?
field. Technocratic knowledge and, the part.
It's quite
That's what our
unfortunate, but
leaders say as well.
it was scary. But for me, I'm a hot person. I saw it as dramatic, the way they strolled into
The palace.
yes, the palace and all that, and took over, and even
And
the
there is
way
no king
the
to
president, the way the
them.
president flee, without any pressure. And this is not about the Afghan people alone. The Afghan people are under threat. They are living in fear. Look at what happened. See the way people were, clinging to the wings of the aircraft and falling off
To do that.
just because they do not want to be, because they know how it was under this hardline, their hardline and
Gentlemen,
Islamic
let's pick up
practice.
calls. Let's pick up calls.
Femi, this is a threat to the world.
Taiwan.
This is a threat to the
We shall
world.
bring you back
And
on
we must
Monday.
observe
Afghanistan,
it now.
Afghanistan can become a breeding ground for terrorists. That is what it was 20 years ago, when and that was where they
Saddam
raised
Hussein
for
and
the attack for the US in 2000.
Yeah,
Started. That was where it started. Saddam
Gentlemen.
Hussein and all. What is that man's name? The man that was eventually killed by the US.
Saddam Hussein.
Not
No.
even Hussein now. The top man. I like to see his picture every and see why and how people
Okay,
have decided
what's
to
the
be
former
Bin
president?
Laden.
Yes.
Osama bin Laden. So
Gentlemen.
this could, start again if we are not, careful.
Well,
And
that's
I'm
not
saying
the
this,
bad
Femi.
news.
I'm
Those
saying
are
this,
the
Femi,
bad.
because don't forget that they also were supporting the Boko Haram. The way you are
Well, they are
stopping me to
traces
stop
and all of
talking,
that.
the way you are
We
talking,
have to open
it's
up the
also
phone
a
for you
lines.
to know the implication of what you are saying.
08108501371. Management. 08108501371. That's the number to call your name, your location. Let's go straight to the point. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. This is Abdul calling from Tunde.
It's good to have you. Please go on.
Thank you. It is not clear now to most of the developing countries, including to Africa now, that America has only their interest or any country. That they didn't have much good for us. So we should try
50137. Again, that's 0108 501 Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, your life.
Yeah, my name is Shola. I'm calling from Ghana.
Good to have you, Shala.
Sorry, I want to talk about black lives. I think the government to realize one thing. I can't remember very Al Qaeda was a terror. We were both threats like the fight for them. And the people that Al Qaeda had not like not about it. That was like kind of that. Because of it, and that's why you won't come here. I think so much for to them. I remember it because of the complex of I was supposed to then. We were not supposed to live of my home country, 1,000 of that people. Also, and back, that is the place. Without the created, maybe then out and it when it goes out. That was that. I'm
Right.
not the doctor, but I know the other.
Well,
Not the best. Number one. That's the best.
well, again, I hear what you're saying. Some knowledge of that. He said, well, it was not a terrorist nation 20 years ago. This is a situation
No,
that dates back to the 70s.
no, it show now if it's familiar with the concept
70s
of
and 80s.
terrorism, I would just advise the caller to do further research on that in order to understand the situation.
Nowhere
70s,
Osama
80s,
bin Laden
yeah.
and his people
And-
used as base know how the life that people lived
But
under
he's,
the Taliban when the Taliban took over power
but he's right
in
about,
Afghanistan.
the heat the George Bush administration got from going, and it was more from vengeance. It was more from
Yes,
September
yes,
11,
yes,
2001.
yes.
We don't
Of
care
course,
about
of
who's
course,
Oscar's God. We
of
just need
course.
to go in, and that's been one of the greatest mistakes been attributed to that particular administration.
Yeah.
Going in for that vengeful fight, irrespective of whatever it was that
Yeah,
happened.
yeah.
Let's pick up more calls. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, you're live. Hello, you're
Hello.
live.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, you're live. Please go on quickly.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, that's coming from Learning.
Good to have you. Please go on.
Thank you. I think the issue on Afghanistan has to do with the blame on the United States of America. Because I realize that even though they have interest, what no matter what happens in that country, they just have to do their own duty. But if you compare Iran and Saudi Arabia, which country is more democratic between Iran and Saudi Arabia? Iran is more democratic than Saudi Arabia, but because of interest they have, they shoot like them with Saudi. You understand? So the issue in Afghanistan is very, very good because I see it now. They spend trillions of naira, trillions of dollars, sorry, as US taxpayers, and that country, a lot of life has been lost. And just allow their the Taliban just to go out something like that because they don't have any interest again. So the bottom line is, the United States of America does not have any interest again in Afghanistan. That's why they let the Taliban have the country. That's just no more interest in Afghanistan. It's not a matter of the Afghan army
All right.
cannot take care of the country. That's not the case.
All right.
So
Well,
there's no interest again.
well,
So the
thank.
very terrible thing, I feel also,
All right.
so to give the message to Nigeria to take care of our country, no country outside Nigeria will come and help us. We should create our own better Africa. We should have our own country.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that
Let,
one.
let me just clear one that thought on issue of US having interest in the country, just like a fight. When you are trying to fight someone and you notice that they are gathering support from superpowers against you, there are times you need to withdraw from that fight in order not to generate to escalate the fight beyond Afghanistan and Taliban issue. For instance, if other nations, they will not come out to say they are supporting the Taliban. They cannot just do that with the US, but they have other nations, other superpowers supporting them behind the scene. And the US, they already have the intel to that. So if you are not fighting them, you are seeing you are fighting the Taliban while you have other nations backing them. Behind the scene, it will just escalate and we start running.
Well, gentlemen,
and
I
the world is not
wish-
ready for another
I
war.
really wish I had 1 hour to discuss this because this whole Afghanistan situation and how it connects It's really an international relations issue
Sincerely
as to what
insulting our
happens.
nation.
But what I don't seem to understand is the fact where most people think that when nations deal with you, it's out of one love, brotherly love, beyond the optics, and the fact that everybody needs to have an interest. And if we do not have a foreign policy, operational foreign policy, then that's our loss. We've seen
Yes.
it play out at appointments at the World Bank and so many
Yeah.
places and all of that, what everybody's trying to fight for the stake. So you do need a foreign policy. It's not all kumbaya
And
and
that's
all
why
that.
that's why
And
I've been an advocate of economic. Nigerians should be you should retailor you should rethink their foreign policy towards economic interest of this nation. The issue of African first have negated this issue of African first. I have articles on that. I have a series of articles justifying the point. We cannot just keep being our brother's keeper, and our
but
brothers are not even seeing us as brothers. So what's the point? Why African first?
gentlemen, it's been good to having you in the studio. Mr. Ilolo Iwale is the managing editor of the Factual Times Online and the lecturer in mass communication department, Federal Polytechnic University. And Taiwa Dejun, of course, the Real FM, head of the Royal FM News and Current Affairs Department. Gentlemen, thank you so much. My name is Baba Tunde Okunlola. Friends, Kobe FTL, thanks for being a part of the program. Now, Taiwo, let's go and fight outside.
Femi,
All right.
before you wrap up,
We are rapid. See,
I want to salute one of our late brothers.
yeah,
He
you did
was a
say so.
lecturer and all that. Late Dr. Tunde. He was
Yes,
a
so
very
that's
good, he was a very good man. We pray that the soul continue to rest in peace and God give the family the
all right.
fortitude to bear the loss.
All right. Do have a great weekend. Oh, anyway, everyone who's